Have you ever been in that place where your chest tightens, your throat closes up, and everything feels too heavy to be spoken out loud? That moment when no one is around, and you start to wonder if you're really living or just surviving. A mind full, but an empty heart. Thoughts that attack you, emotions that paralyze you, and a strange feeling that there's something inside you about to explode, but it can't come out. Maybe it's anger or sadness. Maybe it doesn't even have a name yet. Just the weight, an existential exhaustion that sleep won't fix, a loneliness that persists even when you're surrounded by people. And this is where almost everyone gives up, when pain turns into mud, when the soul sinks. But the ancient alchemists knew something the modern world has forgotten. It's in that mud that the gold lies. Every dense emotion is raw material. The chaos you feel inside is not the end. It's the beginning of a transmutation. True alchemy doesn't happen in a lab. It happens inside you in the way you deal with what you feel, in the courage to turn pain into clarity, fear into strength, anger into direction. Today, you're going to discover the 3 steps of inner alchemy. Not theory, not cheap self-help, but a practical, symbolic, and visceral path, inspired by Hermetic alchemy to transform any toxic emotion into creative power. And if you watch until the end, you'll understand why what hurts you the most might be exactly what sets you free. And when you understand that, something starts to shift inside. Not in a spectacular way, not like in a movie. It's subtle, almost invisible to the eyes, but completely felt in the body. Because the first stage of true inner alchemy is not pretty nor comfortable. It begins in chaos. The alchemists called this phase prima materia, the raw, dense, dark matter. In the language of the soul, it's the anger you won't admit you feel. It's the sadness you pretend doesn't exist. It's the fear you hide even from yourself. And the most curious part is that most people spend their lives trying to get rid of it, doing everything not to feel, to bury, to silence. But what is silenced rots. What is ignored takes root. Every emotion you avoid today comes back tomorrow with a different mask. Chaos only dissolves when you face it. Carl Jung said that nothing changes until it is accepted. And accepting is not the same as resigning. It's having the courage to look in the mirror of your soul and say, I see you, see your anger, see your fear, see your guilt. What hurts in you is asking to be named. What paralyzes you is begging for a place in your awareness. This is the first stage of transmutation, recognizing the raw matter without judgment, without haste, without escape. Alchemy begins when you stop fighting what you feel and start listening to what it wants to show you. And when you start to listen, you realize there are layers behind each emotion. Not everything is what it seems at first glance. Sometimes anger is just a desperate cry for respect. Sadness, a memory of something that was never lived. Fear, a reflection of old stories your body still carries, even if your mind has already forgotten them. That's why alchemy doesn't happen on the surface. It demands depth, it demands presence, and it demands fire. The second stage of transmutation is the alchemical fire, the calcinatio in symbolic language. It's the heat that separates the essential from illusion. In real life, it's when you stop running and start holding what you feel. Sitting with the emotion, breathing into it, staying even when everything in you wants to run. It's not about suffering more. It's about facing the pain with awareness, about going through it instead of around it. Gabor Maté, physician and mind-body researcher, states that every repressed emotion settles in the nervous system as accumulated tension. It turns into chronic pain. It turns into insomnia. It turns into anxiety. But when felt with full presence, it moves, it burns, and as it burns, it transforms. This is the fire that doesn't destroy. It reveals. It illuminates what was forgotten. It brings to light the exiled pieces of yourself and begins to dissolve everything that no longer serves you. A good practice in this process is to combine breath with visualization. Breathe deeply for 4 counts. Hold the air, feel, and as you exhale, imagine a golden flame burning away the excess, the weight, the buildup. You're not trying to get rid of what you feel. You're just releasing what you no longer need to carry. Because fire, when well directed, doesn't burn for revenge. It burns for clarity, and it's that clarity that opens the path to the next stage of transformation. Not because everything is resolved, but because now there is space. Space to create. Space for something new to emerge. Not from escape, but from integration. In Hermetic tradition, it's called coagulatio. It's the point where what has been dissolved and purified finds stability. It's where fire becomes light. An emotion, once chaotic, becomes a creative impulse. In that moment, something deep happens. You stop defining yourself by the pain and start using that same pain as a tool. It's when grief turns into art, rejection becomes voice, and guilt turns into direction. What once seemed to break you now sustains your new beginning. Viktor Frankl said that suffering ceases to be suffering the moment it finds meaning. And giving form is exactly that, allowing the energy that once weighed you down to now build. It's not about forgetting what happened, but about transforming what happened into purpose. And for that, great acts aren't necessary. Sometimes everything begins with a simple gesture. Writing about what you feel, singing what hurt, creating something small but real as an exercise in presence. Neuroscientists have already proven that emotional writing reorganizes the brain. It reignifies memories. It reduces amygdala activation and activates areas linked to emotional self-regulation. It's an active process, a conscious choice, a kind of invisible construction that changes everything inside. Because in the end, you don't get rid of your emotions. You reinvent them. And when you learn to do that day after day, you discover something no alchemist ever dared say out loud. The philosopher's stone was never an object hidden somewhere in the world. It was always hidden within the one who seeks, not in secret libraries nor in manuscripts protected by hidden societies, but in the ability to transform pain into wisdom, in the skill of embracing what hurts and, even so, remaining whole, or rather, more whole than before. Jung, who spent his life studying symbols and archetypes, said that the stone symbolized the integration of the self, the point where shadow and light stop fighting and become one. There's no longer a divide between what you feel and what you express. There's no more war between who you want to be and who you are. This is spiritual maturity. It's when you realize that freedom doesn't lie in avoiding pain, but in knowing what to do with it, and most of all, in no longer being defined by it. What emerges from this state is not a perfect version of yourself. It's a more honest one, more lucid, more present. Because true power isn't in controlling everything around you. It's in creating meaning in the midst of chaos. It's when you understand that not all suffering needs to be carried as a cross. Some were made to become flame, others to be returned to the earth, and some to teach where your limits are and where your expansion begins. This understanding doesn't come overnight. But the more you practice inner alchemy, the more it becomes natural. You feel the fear, but don't let it guide you. You notice the sadness, but don't sink into it. You hear the anger, but you redirect it. And before you know it, you're already living from another place, a quieter place, more conscious, more whole. It's from this point that the next step is born, the living application of what was learned, the moment when knowledge leaves the realm of ideas and becomes choice. Daily choice, real choice. Knowledge alone doesn't transform. It's in the quiet practice, in the small, everyday gestures that alchemy truly happens. Not during perfect meditation, but in the middle of traffic. To avoid. It's when you wake up on a bad day and still choose to take a deep breath instead of getting lost in the automatic loop. Inner alchemy begins to solidify when you live what you've understood, when theory becomes action, when symbol becomes behavior, and awareness becomes routine. You don't need to change everything at once, nor do you need to have all the answers. You just need to start with a single commitment, to no longer waste your emotions. The next time anxiety comes, observe it as a messenger. When guilt tries to settle in, ask what still hasn't been forgiven. If sadness draws near, offer it space, and maybe paper and pen. Each emotion is a hidden instruction, a symbolic key to an aspect of you that wants to be understood. Create your own rituals, small rituals but filled with intention. It could be writing 3 lines every morning about how you're feeling. It could be breathing with presence before each meal. It could be looking in the mirror, even if you don't feel like it, and telling yourself, "I'm here." It's not the size of the gesture. It's the frequency. It's the truth behind it. And when you make mistakes, because you will, remember, mistakes are part of the transmutation. That's how the fire is adjusted. That's how you get to know your own limits. And that's how the inner vessel that supports your evolution grows stronger. The path is not about never feeling pain again. It's about never getting lost inside it again. It's about remembering every day that a process is taking place and that you are at the center of it. Conscious, present. This is the ground where gold begins to shine, not as a distant promise, but as a natural consequence of someone who chooses to stay. Transforming emotions is not about controlling what you feel, but about taking responsibility for what you do with it. It's choosing, in every moment, to give a new direction to the energy that once hurt you. It's recognizing that anger can become the strength to act, that sadness can turn into empathy, and that even fear, when embraced, becomes a compass. Inner alchemy doesn't require perfection. It requires presence. It doesn't ask you to never feel pain again, only that you learn to listen to it without confusing yourself with it. It's a constant, silent practice that only blooms when there's courage to dive deep into yourself. Everything you learned here today only gains value when it becomes a choice. The choice to breathe before reacting, to observe before judging, to transform before accumulating. It's in the repetition of these small gestures that light begins to shine, and you begin to realize you don't have to wait for the world to change to start living differently. Real transformation begins within. It begins now. The Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote, "It's not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It's because we do not dare that they are difficult." The gold you seek is not in the future, nor outside of you. It's right there in what you feel, in what you choose to do with it. And when that awareness takes root, something truly changes, because you stop merely surviving your story and start writing it with intention. You are not what you feel. You are what you transform. This is your power. This is your alchemy. If this video touched you in any way, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Write in the comments, "I choose to transform, not repress," to seal this commitment with your own journey. Share it with someone who needs to hear this today, and click the screen now to watch another transformative video that might open new doors within you. Remember, what once hurts you can now be exactly what will shape you.